In dating, most guys play not to lose. And it's very bad, and it ends up with you actually losing more girls. And the girls that you really like, especially. Whereas the guys who play to win, they will still fail a lot of times. But they're more likely to end up getting the girl that they really like, and overall are going to have a better time in general. They're going to enjoy dating more. They're going to be able to do things that you would think are impossible, like sleeping with a really beautiful woman very, very quickly, like on the first date or the second date or the third date. Moving fast with girls, getting things from girls that you think, oh no, she's not the kind of girl who does that, right? Getting really sloppy fucking blowjobs and being able to fuck her in the ass on like the first or second date. Her sucking your dick in public. Her willing to have a threesome with you. Her willing to maybe in the beginning of the dating be okay with you fucking other girls, where normally she'd be very staunchly like, oh, we need to be monogamous, right? And I think that once you become monogamous, you should be 100% monogamous, right? But I mean, in the dating phase, like until you get into the official relationship, like she'll be more understanding that you're kind of a fucker. Okay, these things that you would consider, maybe they're not things that you want, and that's fine. I'm just putting a like a benchmark of things that you can get from girls when you play to win. And what I mean by play to win, I can use a really good example from a client of mine. So I'm going to read what he said to me, and it's been a recent theme actually in a lot of my coaching calls with clients. I'm seeing that most guys are not playing to win. And then I'll go over how to actually play to win, right? Look, what are the steps besides just the mentality, but what do you actually start doing? So I messaged this guy. He was a client of mine we finished a couple months back, and now he's back in his home country, and he's from an Asian country, and he was in Europe, and so he wanted to do day game. And he kind of felt like, okay, I'm in a different country. I can kind of, feel more free. Like when you go on vacation, you feel more bold because it's not your home, right? No one's going to remember you. You just feel safer. Even though you're fine doing day game anywhere, approaching girls randomly on the street, you have the vacation mentality. But he's back, and I was hoping that he would still be able to pull it off. So I asked him, are you still doing approaches? He said, yes, but recently I'm really frustrated. I met a girl. I thought I had a chance, but I eventually screwed up. I just don't know what to do now. I feel like I'm always struggling. Now, usually with a lot of my clients, I figure out what to teach them in the first couple sessions, right? He only did 4 sessions, so we didn't really get a chance to have a transformative experience that kind of happens with my 12-week program. There's a reason why I do 12 weeks. But on the first call or the second call, I usually nail what you need to work on because I've seen... Once I get to know you, I've seen it before. You're not that special. You're not that different or interesting, right? Either I've been through it or I've had a client who's gone through it and I know how to fix it. So I'll point out, hey, these are these things that you have to do. This is, you act kind of weird in this situation, or you're not perceiving this correctly. You need to do this. You need to do that. And for every client, it's a little bit different, right? One guy, he may need to start being more nice and more warm and sweet and kind of lower energy, because he's a little bit too much. It's overbearing. But another guy, I need him to get more. I need him to express more. I need him to, some guys I think you need to become more cocky. Not an asshole, just a little more cocky. You have a little bit more, but some guys I think you have to really tone it down. Like I had a client, he was acting like a fucking thug. Now he did grow up in the ghetto, but that's not an excuse, right? It's just a reason. And so different things need to be changed for different guys. But I knew exactly what he had to work on. The question is, are you going to remember it, right? Are you going to remember it, and are you going to implement it? And a lot of my coaching is I teach you what to do in the first couple sessions, and then the next 8 sessions for the whole 12 weeks is like reminding you, reinforcing it, and then showing you that all of these other little problems that you're encountering, you think that they're over here, but they're actually just a symptom of you not doing this thing, like playing to win, for instance, the topic of this video, right? And that was one of his problems, okay? Is he's a really, really sweet guy. Like if you saw this guy in a video for just a couple minutes, you'd be like, this is like, he is a teddy bear. He is one of the sweetest. He's all smiles. He just has very kind eyes, okay? And he's a very, very good guy. Like, I even asked him, I was like, do you ever get mad at people? I was just kind of curious about his personality. He's like, no, not really. He's like, I mean, I get mad, but I never really express it, which is something obviously deep down in all of our hearts, even the sweetest, nicest people. There is a little bit of a demon, right? And I'm not saying he needs to express it. I'm just saying he needs to be a little bit aware of his more not super friendly qualities, right? And what happens when you start to call that up is you start to have a little bit more of a manly essence, a manly vigor. I don't know. Just, what the fuck I mean, right? Just, you kind of can tell he's a little more masculine. And that was what he was missing, unfortunately. He was such a sweet, kind guy, but girls really weren't taking him seriously. But they were very receptive to him. He would show me audios, and we would listen together of how he approaches girls. And they would really, really be sweet and nice. And, hey, how are you? Which is something you get when you're really nice and sweet. But you have to be able to take that and then turn it into, it's actually a good starting point. Some guys are like, oh, you're getting friend zoned. It's like, yeah, that's true. But the jump to being taken seriously as a sexual partner, right? Someone that she'd actually want to hook up with, not just that she finds sweet. It's not as far as a leap as you think. You don't have to you have to shave your head and grow a beard and that's all, those are all physical reflections of the actual energetic change that I want to happen in guys. And those are sometimes plastic, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, they're cheap imitations of what I actually mean by, like, becoming a little bit more masculine. And guys will do these things to have, like, a short-term change, and it can change her perception of you. But as she gets to know you, she'll see that it's hollow if you don't have the personality to actually back up that image that you're projecting. But if that's your image that you want to project, that's fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying most guys use their image as a cheap imitation of the real thing. So I kind of told him, like, you need to work on this, right? So he's struggling right now, but he's struggling with the same thing I told him to. What he needs to remember is the things that I was teaching him. Right. But of course, you forget something you heard 3 months ago. I'm a fantastic explainer and I'm a really great teacher, but I'm not fucking magic. Right. It's up to me to a certain point, but it's really up to the client at a certain point to actually implement the advice. And he did start seeing some results early on. Like, he finally did get a date just before he left with a really cute girl. He obviously didn't close or anything, but I think it was actually a strong sign that he's going in the right direction. But probably now what he's doing is reverting to his old things, and he's kind of losing track. But, I mean, it's like if you go to the gym for 3 months, you're going to see some gains. But the gym for 3 months versus the gym for 12 months, or 4 months versus 12 months, right? So he did 4 weeks of training with me versus what 12 weeks of training would do. It's going to have a big impact, right? So I see what he's struggling with, but then he said something very interesting that reinforced what is the topic of this video and what I was teaching him. So he said, I lost the girl after our first date. That day we talked until midnight. So really having a great connection. I mean, they were, I'm presuming they went out at maybe 7, 8 o'clock and they were talking until midnight. So clearly there was a lot of chemistry there. The conversation was flowing. She liked him. He liked her. I can tell she's into me. Yeah, for sure. We had a good time. And she kept touching me throughout the date. Okay. See, you think cute little Asian boy is getting friend zoned. No, she was being touchy, talking to him a lot. So clearly it's not just friendly. And he direct approached her. Like, he told her that she's beautiful. It's not like he's going with some intentions that he's getting, she's just treating him like a friend. No, like, he came in, the first thing he says is, I think you're cute or pretty, which is a romantic sexual declaration. It's saying, I see you physically attractive. And if she reciprocates and continues to see me, that's a sign that she also feels that same way, right? Then this is where it gets interesting. But at the time, I thought I wanted to take it slow. See? Wait for a few days to ask her on a second date. That was his plan. But after the date, I sent her home. I waited until the day after tomorrow. Oh, that's also another mistake he did. So he had this amazing date with her, and then he didn't text her that night or the next day. He waited till the day after. So he tried to play it way too cool. And she became cold and even left me on red. So there's a few things wrong here, okay? The waiting until the day after tomorrow, that was a bad idea. That could have actually fucked with your attainability. Excuse me. And it could have made it seem like, okay, we had this great connection. Why isn't he texting me? Oh, he texted me after. Is he playing games? Is he playing, like, she got, just like if you had an amazing date with a girl and you're like, okay, I'm going to wait till she texts me. And you waited the next day and you didn't hear anything, you're going to be like, oh my God, she didn't like me. I'm such a loser, right? You'll start to get insecure. So that's kind of what happened. But I think the biggest thing is that you shouldn't even have to rely on this stuff. Now, I'm not saying you can sleep with every girl on the first date. It's very difficult in a lot of cases. But it's a thing that you can make a consistent plan of yours so that you can start training this ability, right? To think, I need to play to win. Like, how do you actually start playing to win? What's the formula? Well, you can start forcing yourself to do things that you normally wouldn't do, right? Try to kiss her on the first date. Try to always invite her home on the first date, right? Try to fuck her on the first date. If you get her home, always try to escalate the sex. Like, go for the kiss. Try to finger her. Of course, it doesn't need to be said, but there's retards out there. Of course, at any point, if she puts up a wall, you stop and you regroup, and then, you have a conversation with her about it, okay? And communicate between two adults. But you should be assertive. You should go for these things, right? Very rarely is a woman going to make these moves for you. And most of the time sitting there and, handing her a contract saying, what are you okay with? That's not how communication between men and women works, right? But in this day and age, it has to be said. Okay, PR fucking explanation over. So the main thing he was doing wrong was he wasn't trying these things. He wasn't having this gear turning in his head like, okay, we got to go for it. What happened was he had a really great connection with her, and that made him feel great, right? Well, when you're feeling really great and you have something amazing, what's your first instinct? I don't want to lose it. That's our first instinct with everything in our life. If we get a lot of money, what's your first thought? Yeah, you might want to buy some stuff, but really, what's your first thought? Oh my God, this is great. I don't want to ever lose this, right? I don't want to ever have to go back to a 9 to 5. I don't want to ever, have to work at that shitty job that I hated, or it was really hard to make that money and I would never want to do that again. You get an amazing girl and you're like, oh my God, the thought of just being with her makes me so happy. I don't want to have to go back to fucking swiping right on Tinder or approaching girls on the street or whatever way it is that you're meeting girls. You should be approaching them on the street, but hey, that's me. That's playing to win, right? Swiping right on Tinder is trying not to lose. But when we get something that we want and that we really value, so in that moment, he was having this amazing time with her on a date. He's like, oh my God, this is great. Oh my God, I'm not fucking up. She actually likes me. Okay, don't fuck this up. That's his mentality. Don't fuck it up. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to play it cool. This mentality is what mostly lost him the girl. I'm not saying that you have to go on for sex on the first date to keep a girl interested, but when you have this great of a connection with a girl and your thought is to play slow, you're wrong. Actually, when things are going really well with a girl, the best thing to do is move faster. The more interest that a girl is showing you, the faster you should move with her. In fact, the less interest she's showing you, up to a certain point, you should actually play it slower. Not necessarily wait a bunch of dates, but don't put as much energy. Now, there is a certain threshold where it's like if she's like giving you nothing, you should just go for broke, right? Just be like, hey, you want to get out of here? And in some cases, she just had like a shy personality and you invite her home and she's like, yeah, sure. And you're like, what? Like, you were giving me none of these signals, and she'll suck your dick or have sex with you. And you're like, what? I was totally reading it wrong, right? Just because you weren't clued in enough into how like girls communicate stuff, or she's just really hard to read. So only in like the middle should you ever like play it safe when you don't know what to do. You're not quite sure how to read the situation. But when a girl's giving you like no interest, but she's at least on a date with you and she's not walking away, right? That's like below interest. That's like, yeah, that's obvious, right? I mean, she's just not giving you a lot to work with. But as your mentality needs to be, as a girl gives me more signs that she likes me, more touching, more smiling, more leaning in, like really her everything is showing you, her eye contact, her words, her vocal tonality, her body language, right? When I teach your fundamentals, you need to be watching her fundamentals, right? Because those are showing you a much clearer picture than just what's in your head, because what's in your head is not always very clear and it's muddled. But what's very clear is her behavior. Most of the time, it's the truth. So the more her fundamentals are expressing interest in you, the faster you should be moving. And if a girl's all over you and you're having a great connection, go for sex. I don't care if you've never hooked up with a girl on the first date or if you're a virgin. Go for it, right? Whether it's the first date or the second date, whatever to you is fast, right? To some guys, they're like, first date, oh my God, maybe second or third, maybe, right? You have to do things at your own pace. But what I'm telling you is, you've probably heard the term limiting beliefs. That's really huge. Like, you think that you can't do these things. You think you can't fuck a really cute girl within like an hour of knowing her or 2 hours of knowing her or 15 minutes of knowing her. These things are possible. Okay. And to a certain degree, stars do have to align, right? She has to be single, right? She may be ovulating. If she's not single, I don't advise you go for it. I'm very against it. It's not always technically the case, but it should be morally the case. You shouldn't go for it. So that's why I say she should be single. Ovulation is obviously going to help you because she'll go grind a fucking tree trunk, just to get off. Girls get super horny just like we do, okay? And that's actually a second part of why you don't play to win, but I'll get to that in just a second. Shit. I lost the train of thought. Oh, yeah. The more she's showing you, right, the harder you should push it. And there are some things that have to be there. Logistics is another thing, right? There has to be the time to actually do it. But if those things are there, if the logistics are there, and she's showing the signs and she's single, okay, fucking go for it. I don't care if it's way faster than you think it's possible. It's possible. The only thing that stops you is her. How you should always, this is how I say it, you should move as fast as she's comfortable with. If she's okay with choking on your dick in the first hour of meeting you, I don't see what's the issue. If you have some sort of like religious or ethical thing against moving quick with girls, okay. I have no idea why you're watching my channel, okay. I do have one client actually though that he's a born again Christian, and he's no sex before marriage, and I actually do help him. I just teach him the psychology, and we stop at the point of like hooking up, right? It actually helps. He's doing decently well with his girlfriend. So it's an interesting caveat. So I can't actually teach you if you're a born again Christian, but for the most part, right? Or a Muslim or whatever, right? So you gotta push it as far as you can, and you should. The reason is for the second thing that I just kind of started to talk about. Not only is she showing she wants it, because it's very clear in her behavior she wants it, right? She wants to fuck just as much as you do. But that's the thing. You don't think that women want to fuck as much as you do. Like, whatever you've been programmed, you can fucking blame anything. Disney, media, parents, just society. I think it's just a game that society plays at pretty much any point in history, and it's multicultural, right? It's this game of men are the horn dogs and women are like the angels who they have to protect their sexuality. Different cultures treat it in different ways. Like some cultures might treat it as women can be devilish sluts and we have to keep them in line, like really extreme conservatism. Other ones, they glorify the female chastity and like, oh, she's the perfect virgin, They approach it with different, they paint it differently, but at the end of the day, it's the same message, right? The men go for the sex, and then the women are like, oh, not yet, oh, but I really want it, So this idea is just wrong, right? Women love cock. They love dick, okay? It sounds cringy to say, but it's just fucking true, right? They like to get fucked. They like to get spit on and slapped around. And obviously the more extreme stuff you got to be careful with, and of course take it, as like I said, as comfortable as she is, and communicate very openly. But the vast majority of women are into that shit, and they really, really like it. The average woman is multiple times more kinky than the average man and is more sexual. We're just kind of about that nut. We're you think that we're more sexual because we're like, oh, you want to get that nut. But women, Chase actually wrote an article recently. It's on the main website, girlschase.com. It's something about like the average, even the goody two-shoe girls are really sluts or something like that. And I'll put a link in the description for you to go to it. And he phrased it in such a great way. He said, men want to get their orgasm. Women are looking for an experience. Women love to come, right? I'm not denying that. But women are more interested in experience than they are in coming. And giving them an experience is the best way to make them come. But if you give a woman a great experience, like you could have really hot sex for 45 seconds and then you bust because you're just like so fucking into it. But she could actually like that better than maybe a different time that you fuck where it was like pretty standard sex and she came. But it was like 8 minutes of just like bleh. A woman would probably be more interested in 45 seconds of wow than 8 minutes of not bad. I came. Because women are interested in the experience. Like they want to feel it. They want to soak into it. They just want to let go. That's why they prefer to be submissive. Because when you're submissive, it's much more easy to let go. Whereas you're dominant, you have a lot more things to kind of keep in control. And it's a little bit more difficult of a thing to do. And it's less pleasurable overall. I mean, just look at when's the last time you heard a man screaming his head off because he's getting fucked, and the last time you heard a woman screaming her head off because she's getting fucked? Pretty clear evidence that the woman is having a better time a lot of the time, except for maybe the average girl because the average guy sucks. But that's a whole nother discussion. So you're not playing to win, really, I think in a lot of cases, because you're just not paying attention to the signs. Is like the first point. But the second point is you still think women are these good girls. And this guy was also thinking that, right? He's kind of an innocent guy. He's a virgin. He's very new. He's a very sweet guy. Like I said, he's a sweet kid. He doesn't have that. He has it in him. He just hasn't found it yet. He hasn't found that dog deep inside of him. He hasn't found that sex demon within him, okay? But when you find that in you and you really, truly understand it, you're never going to know until the women show you. So you have to go for it. But once you see just how fucking dirty and naughty girls can be, you'll be like, oh, I can actually express this part of myself, and you'll just mount these girls and just, your dick will be fucking Diamond Dick Dallas, and you will just be like trying to rip them apart as fuck them as hard as you can, and she's fucking moaning louder, and you're like, I should be hurting you, but for some reason you actually like it more than when I was being soft and gentle, and you're fucking spitting on them and slapping around, calling her a fucking fuck toy, and the only purpose of her existence is to be a fucking hole for your dick, and that's all she's ever gonna be, and you just boom, boom, and she loves it, and you fucking love it too. Once you see that, something is gonna change in your energy. There's different levels to it, obviously, but something's gonna change in your energy. The only way to get there, however, is you have to experience it, and the only way you're gonna experience it is you have to play to win. And playing to win means you don't play it safe. And not playing it safe means you don't wait that long, okay? And you can take it at different speeds. Say, okay, you know what? I'm going to wait until the second date to go for it. But there is a problem when you do that. When a girl is ready, like this girl was in this example, when she's ready, you have the belief that, okay, I can lock it here. I'm going to play. I'm not quite bold enough to do it on the first date. I can wait. Because she was here, and then she'll be here later because you didn't satisfy her urge, she actually might end up being here. Whereas if she was just here after the first date, she might be more likely to actually go on the second date with you because you kind of just warmed her up. But if you get her so turned on and she's so ready to fuck and you don't do anything, at least kiss her something, she's going to get blue balls. The female equivalent of blue balls. And if you've ever had blue balls, it fucking hurts. You're like, your dick is hard and you're like, oh my God. And your boys are ready to fucking launch into, pussy outer space. And they're like, come on, fucking lift up, motherfucker. but you don't, and then she leaves and your dick is just like, oh my God, and you have to jerk off. Because if you don't, your boner's going to die and your balls are going to hurt because you're like, I just created so much cum. Like, I could have repopulated fucking Jupiter if I'd just been allowed to bust in every girl on Earth and I had enough cum to fucking do it. But I didn't. So it's all in my balls. The entire fucking cosmos could be repopulated, but it's in my fucking balls and it fucking hurts. Yeah. That's what happens to a girl. Not quite literally, right? But emotionally. She was like all in this shit. And then it's like, okay, hug. Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, he was so nice. He was so sweet. But she'll feel something is off. She may not go, I wanted to fuck and he didn't fuck me. He's a pussy. She's not going to like do it like that. She might. But there's a lot of disappointment there. And the best way to avoid that disappointment is to close the deal. Okay, you can come up with 100 different analogies. A client walks in, he's ready to buy, but you're out of stock. Okay, well, he's going to go to the store. He's like, I want that fucking graphics card. He's going to go to the next Micro Center or, Amazon and buy it there. I mean, I remember I went to go buy the new iPhone in Romania, and I went to this one place. I'm like, I'll just buy it cash right now. They're like, well, sorry, you're not a Romanian citizen. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, just give me I will literally pay you. And I was like, okay. And I went next door to a different place and just paid cash, and they got my business. And it's like, oh, what the fuck, right? You just lost money for a bunch of stupid reasons. So you're going to lose the money, the pussy, right? If you think that you can just wait for the client to come back, the customer to come back. In a lot of cases, they don't. Okay? So close the deal when it's in front of you. Have the product be ready to deliver, and when you see she's ready to buy, go for it. Okay? And if you're not ready to go that far, at least go for something. The kiss. Try to hold her hand. Fucking think, how far can I push this? So playing to win is setting rules or goals for yourself rather than just, that's the best way to think about it. Set goals. That's it. Okay. And they can be extreme. They can be small, and start at the level you're ready to go at. But honestly, the one that never fails is, I'm going to try and fuck her on the first date. I did that with so many girls, and I lost a lot of girls because of it. The girls that I probably, if I would just waited till the second date or the third date. But I burned the house down, man. I'm gonna ask 10, 15 times, right? I'm not gonna make the girl uncomfortable. I'm not going to be creepy or anything like that, right? I'm not suggesting any of that. You always have to be aware of the other person, make sure they're comfortable, right? But there's a way to persist, and there's a way to be passionate about it in a way that, I mean, girls would even tell me, they're like, I love how much of a dog you are, basically. They didn't say that, but they're like, I love how assertive you are. It's exciting. It turns me on, right? And sometimes I would fuck them or hook up with them in some way, and sometimes not. But I don't ever regret moving faster with a girl. The only times I ever look back and think I'm a fucking idiot was when I didn't. When I had probably the most beautiful girl at my school in my bed, and I didn't go for it because I was fucking nervous. I was nervous, right? I was supposed to be the big pimp Hector player on campus, and I fucking got nervous, right? And this girl fucking, when we first met, she liked me, but she had a boyfriend, and then she didn't have a boyfriend, but she hated me because I was kind of an asshole to her. And then she started talking to a guy I knew, but then they stopped talking, and then right before I was about to graduate, a couple weeks before, I had a chance to fuck her. She came over to my fraternity house, and we were playing beer pong, and she was kind of being a bitch to me, and then her friends were like, what the fuck's going on? Why, and they started being nice to me, and then everyone left except for her, and then I confessed to her. I was like, hey, I know that things are weird between us, but it's honestly because I have a huge crush on you, and you make me kind of nervous. And she totally changed her tune, and she was really sweet to me, and then went up to my room, and we had a nice talk, and she was nice to me like this. And then her friends were coming to pick her up, but I knew if I would have just fucking gone for it, she would have taken the dick rather than wanting to leave. But I remember she stood up and just stared at me. And I was like, okay, bye. I froze. She stood up. It was in my face. I could have gone for a kiss, something. And I didn't. It was one of the biggest things I regretted in college. She was a fucking gorgeous blonde girl. Okay. I regret that. And most of the time when I regret things is because I didn't move faster. A few times have I lost girls because I moved too fast. and they thought, oh yeah, he's a fuckboy, he just wants sex, or I didn't do it quite calibrated enough, or maybe I seem too eager, like I'm way too thirsty. Yeah, sure, but nah, no regrets. Go for it, bro. Okay, play to win, play to win. Go for the kiss, go for the sex. Push harder, push harder, push harder. Of course, pay attention to the woman. That goes without saying, right? Most of you aren't idiots, you'll pay attention, but for the guy out there who's not paying attention. So play to win. And playing to win means having goals. I'm always going to go for the kiss, but by at least the first date or the second date or within an hour of the date, something. And I promise you, you are going to see a side of women that you haven't yet experienced. And once you do, you're going to be convinced even more. They're going to move faster and faster and faster and faster. And then you're going to understand what guys like me are talking about when we're like, bro, these girls are sluts. They love to suck dick. And we don't mean that in a demeaning way. We're whores. We're man whores, right? We're all fucking horny fucking monkeys, okay? But once you understand that and you start treating girls the way that they actually want to be treated, as long as they're showing the signals, of course, right? You're going to be a much better dater. And you're going to have a lot more success. And your successes are going to be extravagant rather than just meh. And this can go with girls who are 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, good girls, whores. Trust me. Sometimes the sluts can actually be the hardest to get with because they know all the games. They know all the tricks guys can pull, and they've already tasted everything, so you're not that interesting. The more inexperienced girl might actually be more open to fucking you quickly because you're just so delectable, and she's never had anything like that. All she's had is just kind of nice guys. Okay? So, anyways, I've talked too much. Play to win. Don't play not to lose. Play to win, and you will have a much better dating life. Women will respect you more, and you'll respect yourself more. And it's more fun. Okay? Cool. Hector Castillo, girlschase.com. Hope you guys enjoy my hair's getting a little bit better. I'm waiting till I can at least put it back. It'll look really good. Give me a little bit longer, and I won't look like a scene kid. Yeah, stuff in the description. Buy it. Meet girls everywhere. Go buy go buy it, and then go out and meet girls everywhere. Learn how to talk to girls, right? That you can actually have dates with, and then move fast with them. Texting, what she really means, in the description below. Texting book, fucking buy it. Personal coaching, okay? The beginning of the video, I didn't quite sell my coaching so well. Well, I had these sessions, and this guy is complaining that no, he had success. He just didn't do as much as he probably should have, right? Which is fine. Not everyone has the money to do that much, but he got the answers he needed. He's just not implementing it. So I can't really force you to, learn everything really fast. But I will know what you need to work on. It's just a question of whether you're willing to implement it and how hard you're willing to work. Hopefully he doesn't get too discouraged and he's going to keep trying. But a lot of times these kind of failures do make guys pause, take breaks. It's normal. I totally understand. But when you have a coach who's pushing you, things are a lot easier. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to work on. So sign up for a free 10-minute consultation with the link in the description, and we'll talk about coaching and see if it's right for you. Okay? Buy all my shit. I'll give you wisdom in return, and you'll have a dating life. Play to win. Stop being a pussy. Love you, Hector Castillo. Bye.